Well, it's Thursday, and you've got a couple more shopping days till Christmas. But it could be a little tough. I woke up this morning, I turned on the news, I saw this coming last night and didn't talk about it, and that is Amazon workers strike during a pre-Christmas rush. Thousands of them across the country. And when I woke up this morning and saw that across my news channels, all I could think of was my immediate thought was, oh, shucks. People are going to have to get up, go out of their house, put on real clothes, get in their car, and go into a brick and mortar store and buy Christmas gifts. That was my immediate thought. I'll talk about that real quick in about 3 minutes, the Amazon workers strike. Other news today, by the way, the name is Jeff. It's West Side Jeff, and for Chris Crock, Chris is off until January 2nd. He's not gone. He hasn't left. He's not leaving. He's back on the air and in this chair on January 2nd, the day after New Year's Day. So he'll be back. But until then, you got me, West Side Jeff. The court today, a Georgia appeals court, removed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from her election interference prosecution against Donald Trump and 14 other defendants. Now, the appeals court said that her romantic relationship with a top deputy disqualifies her entire office, a decision that could doom the case. The court, in a 2-1 ruling today, said that the trial judge erred by allowing Fani Willis to remain on the case so long as her former romantic partner, Nathan Wade, who's an outside lawyer she hired to lead the trial team, resigned. Now, the panel stopped short of throwing out the prosecution entirely, and they said that dismissal was too extreme of a sanction. So it's interesting to see what happens there. But still, the ruling could spell an end to that case. Under Georgia law, the prosecution will now be referred to a state board, which can decide whether to reassign this case to another prosecutor. The sprawling, contentious case may struggle to find a new home with a prosecutor who has resources or political will to carry it forward. Fani Willis is off the case. That's a good thing. That was political persecution. I'm all for persecution when there's a significant crime, whether you are a resident of McKinney or Grapevine or Plano or anywhere across the state of Texas or Florida, or you're the president of the United States or the president-elect. If there's a significant crime, then, I had a boss once that used to say to me, we have rules and we have processes we follow. And if you break the rules, there are consequences. And he said, if you don't like the rules, if the rules are bad, change them. But the fact is, that's why you got rules. So Fani Willis is off the case. I was at lunch today, right about lunchtime, and I was at a local golf course with a client of mine, and the room was packed, and a couple TVs were on. And one of the TVs, two TVs that were on, two had the Golf Channel and two had Fox News. And I look up as I'm dining and having lunch with my client, who is political of nature, and I'm watching again, I'm having lunch in a big crowded room with a customer, a client. It was a business lunch and someone I know really well. And the audio of the TV was not up. So all you saw was the video. I'm looking around the room and nobody else in the room's really watching the TV. I look up the TV and there's footage. I could see the TV was about 25 feet away from me, probably a 55-inch TV. So I had to squint kind of to read the crawl at the bottom. And I didn't quite get a chance to read it, but I finally figured out what it was. And what Fox News was showing at lunchtime was an airplane landing. The airplane landed in New York. Out of the airplane walks Luigi Mangione. He's all shackled up and he's got security that looked almost presidential detail-like. So Fox News covered the plane landing in New York. They showed him coming out live. They showed him. I stopped and looked at my client. I said, look at this video. And we were watching it. And I said, doesn't that look like almost presidential detail? I mean, he was surrounded by so many armed officers, law enforcement with big machine guns. They weren't looking where they're walking. They were looking out for people who were going to do something stupid. They showed him walking over to looked like a kind of a processing center or something. They get in a helicopter. They show the helicopter take off. They show the helicopter flying away. They show the helicopter landing in Manhattan. So it left the airport and flew him, so they didn't have to drive him. Landed at the airport. They show him getting off the helicopter. Again, major security detail all around him. Gets off the chopper. He walks into a holding building. Then he gets into what looked like an armored vehicle, and they follow him to the courthouse. And all I could think about was, if you wonder how big this story is, that should tell you. All you have to do sometimes is watch the media. They will transcribe to you, they will show you, they will tell you what people are interested in. And when you go to the web and when you go to various different news sites, they usually have your top stories on the dynamic lead. So you can click on it real quickly and easily and find out what's going on. That story is still one of the top stories a week or so later. So federal prosecutors charged ex-Ivy Leaguer Luigi Mangione with murder and stalking today for the shooting on December 4th of the United Healthcare executive, Brian Thompson. They alleged he was arrested with a notebook stating an intent to, quote-unquote, whack the CEO of an insurance company. He was wearing a white collared shirt. Once they took him out of the plane, put him in a helicopter, flew him into Manhattan, drove him over to the courthouse, and the whole thing was transcribed. Again, for the better part of an hour, it almost resembled a presidential movement detail from start to finish. They got him into the jail in New York. Eventually, he ended up in the courtroom. He was wearing a white collared shirt, a black quarter-zip sweater, khaki pants. Luigi Mangione appeared in Manhattan federal court on charges today, early this afternoon, about 1 o'clock local time, our time, after being flown in from Pennsylvania earlier in the day. Now, Mangione, shackled at his ankles, read through the paperwork and at times glanced around the courtroom during the proceeding. When the federal magistrate judge had asked him if he understood the charges, Mangione answered yes. The judge ordered him to be jailed. That occurred today. And the interesting thing about that story to me was the media attention it got. And my opinion on that is it didn't get the attention just because he killed a CEO of an insurance company. Part of the reason it got the attention is you and I, not so much me, but I follow it because I'm on the radio. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. America is intrigued with crime stories. There's a reason why when, as my wife calls it, CSI Wednesdays, on Wednesday nights, all the crime shows, murder mystery shows. Podcasting has grown over several years. And when you go back and look at podcasting became podcasting became really big and popular. And what drove podcasting wasn't traditional radio content. It was crime stories. Crime stories, crime novels, a great story about a crime, a criminal, a big story with a plot and a theme to it is what people like. And this is one of those. And it's going to be a story that people are going to follow. The O.J. Simpson case was one of my younger generation. The George Floyd case is one of those. This will be one of those too. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. Those are a couple of the key stories. Another big story going on I want to get into in 3 minutes, and it involves Texas Congressman Chip Roy. He's a member of the House Budget Committee. And that story just went down really within the last hour or so. I want to talk about that next. And I want to talk how that impacts your wallet and your life as this has significant impacts on a lot of things. I want to explain that in about 3.5 minutes. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. I'm in for Chris Crock tonight and the rest of the weekend and the next couple of weeks here on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Do you have any idea how long it has been since our Congress has completed all the bills on time and a budget bill that lasted for a year. I want to talk about that now because the budget bill thing that fight's still going on and there's a lot of implications. I'll tell you that in about 4 to 5 minutes here. So I want you to think about when is the last time you remember that our congressional leaders passed an annual budget in advance, not in the 11th hour, that they adhered to, and it wasn't a continuing resolution and a last-minute thing and 1,500 pages with a bunch of pork. When is the last time that Congress completed all the bills on time? Can you guess? I want you to think about that. I'll come back to that in about 4 or 5 minutes, and I'll tell you when. Because today, I want to talk about the story today. The House of Representatives has rejected President-elect Donald Trump's new plan to fund federal operations and suspend the debt ceiling. Now, it's a day before the government shutdown. Almost 3 dozen Republicans tonight, just a few hours ago, short time ago, joined Democrats to vote against Trump's sudden demands. Again, sudden demands and the quick fix for cobbled together by GOP leaders. Now, the bill fell. Vote was 174 yays and 235 noes, failing to even earn a majority of the votes. So what was in the new bill? The new bill, last night at this time we were talking, and the bill had 1,550 pages. Today, the new bill comes out at 116 pages. So what's in the new bill? Well, the legislation would keep government running for 3 more months. Again, continuing resolution, not a real true upfront budget. It would include disaster assistance for hurricane-hit states and allow for more borrowing through January 2027. Again, more borrowing, so more debt, more deficit spending. It omits many of provisions from the previous bill that would have, among other things, criminalized the creation of pornographic AI images, funded pediatric cancer research, and given pay raises to lawmakers. Now, not all Republicans were happy about this. Trump blew up the initial bipartisan spending proposal yesterday. And while some Republicans are gunning to blame their Democratic counterparts, if the government shuts down, others voted against the new bill. Listen, if the government shuts down, everybody's going to go into their corner and blame the other side. I don't care what your party is. I don't care how you voted. Both sides are going to get blamed. So when could the government shut down? Well, the deadline to keep the government open is tomorrow at midnight. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen. Again, I want you to think about for a second, because I'll get to it in about 3 minutes. When is the last time Congress actually passed a bill that was a budget that was passed in advance and lasted for a year? My name's Jeff. It's West Side Jeff in for Chris Crock. Chris is back on January 2nd. If you want to interact, I'd love to hear your perspective on these stories. My phone number is 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. You can also hit me up across social media. I'm on Facebook at Westside Jeff. I'm on Instagram, Westside Jeff, and also on Twitter, now called X at Westside Jeff. I got a note from listener Norma said demo rats don't want us to know the details of what's in this bill. One is just supposed to open wallets as wide as the Grand Canyon, let them grab all our money, all future money, and whatever our kids will make, then just keep our mouths shut as they plunge us into chaos and bankruptcy. It's their plan. Can't totally disagree with that, Norma. Here's what I'd say about that, and thank you for interacting with the show. I don't think it's just Democrats. I think it's both sides. And that just pisses me off. It frustrates me. I don't think the Republicans are right on this. I don't think the Democrats are right. I blame them all. I blame them all. And I blame President Trump. And here's why. I blame Trump from a perspective that Mike Johnson didn't come up with that budget yesterday overnight. That budget was something that was going on for some time. You didn't come up with 1,500 pages. Mike Johnson is not a dummy. I almost said the wrong word. I got to clean up my language. He is not a dumb you-know-what. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is a pretty smart man. And I contend that he did not develop a budget of 1,500 pages with like you woke up in the morning and went to shave. No, this has been in the works for a while. And I'll guarantee you he's a smart enough politician. There's no way he would have developed a budget with his caucus and folks on both sides of the table without involving the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. No way in all get out that happened. It's not like Trump all of a sudden woke up yesterday, saw a budget, and went, no, I don't like it. What the hell are you guys doing? No. He had to be involved to know. So at the 11th hour, Trump opens up the proverbial door of the budget process, throws a grenade in there, lets it blow up, shuts the door, lets it blow up, and then opens the door and sees who's alive. Trump needs Congress, and Congress needs Trump. We got to go into this inauguration strong and united. Because if we go in divided, if we go in looking like idiots, it's just going to be 2 years worth of a mess. And we're going to lose a lot of seats this next time around. We go into the Congress with 5 seats in the House. 5-seat advantage. That's not very telling. We need them to be on the same page. So how the president-elect comes in, Trump comes in yesterday and throws a curveball and says, no, don't like it. Blow it up. We can't do that and do it all over again. Should have had that conversation all along. Texas Congressman Chip Roy, member of the House Budget Committee, he voted against the bill today. Chip, I saw an interview with him earlier tonight on Fox. I think it was with Laura Ingraham, and he said the bill was a dereliction of congressional duty. Now, I want to get into that. I get hit bottom of the hour news coming up in about 3 minutes with Lori Waffenschmidt in the newsroom. I asked you a minute ago, when is the last time that a sitting Congress completed all the bills on time? What was your guess? How long ago do you think? 4 years, 8 years? What do you think? The answer to the question is 20 years ago. 18 years ago or so. It was 1996. Or no, it was 26 years ago. It was 96. 1996. Last time Congress completed all the bills on time was 1996. Instead of functioning appropriations process, Congress has resorted to massive omnibus appropriations bills and continuing resolutions that carry over spending from the previous year. Now, the federal government spent half of the last 40 years operating under 175 different short-term funding bills. This new norm of crisis budgeting, I don't like it. It's bad. It's bad for you. It's bad for me. And they're playing politics. And this new norm of crisis budgeting is bad. And I'll tell you on the other side, if I get hit the newscast, tell you on the other side why it's bad and what it means to you. Now, the other thing I got to ask is this. I want you to think about when is the last fiscal year in budget surplus, and when was it? And how many have we had in the last several years? It'll surprise you. I want a balanced budget. I want a cap on spending. I'll tell you what I always tell my wife along the way. We don't have an income problem. We have an expense problem, and the government is too. I'll explain that after the bottom of the hour news. News coming up in 2 minutes. On the other side of that, about 4 minutes later, I'll be back. We'll talk about that again. We don't have a income problem. We have an expense problem. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. I'm in for Chris Kroc on News Talk 820 and FM 93.3 WBAP. So just a short time ago, the House of Representatives voted to reject the GOP plan backed by Donald Trump as the government barrels towards shutdown. Several dozen GOP lawmakers joined with Democrats in rejecting the slimmed down version of the plan. The vote fell shy of two-thirds majority required under special fast-track procedures. Congressman Chip Roy, I saw him earlier, just a little while ago on Fox News. He did a live interview, looked live, with Laura Ingraham, where Chip said, and Chip's a congressman down in San Antonio area, Chip said that the bill was a dereliction of congressional duty. He said this bill went from 1,550 pages to 116 pages, which he was happy to hear about. And then he said, you know what? It's got a lot of wins in it, but it's got a lot of bad stuff out there, too. He said this bill continues to spend $110 billion it's unpaid for. It adds that much more to the national debt. Chip Roy goes on to say it increases the national debt ceiling and said there's no structure on the debt ceiling. He said, I want fiscal discipline. I agree with Chip Roy on that. I support that. Listen, I got to balance my checkbook, and I expect government to do the same. Congress has to cut spending. Congress has to get the budget deficit under control. All day, Democrats and throughout the day, I turned on the news real quick, see what was going on. All day, Democrats demonized and vilified Elon Musk. I saw several of them throughout the day today refer to Elon Musk as President Musk, almost as a negative. Now, let me tell you something about that. Let me tell you my opinion, and I know you'll agree with me on this. I trust a guy like Elon Musk, who is a billionaire, who has built an empire whose value of his empire is greater than several nations around this globe. I trust him a whole lot more than I trust any legislator, any Republican or any Democrat, especially one who's never been successful in the business world, a capitalist. So for Democrats to call him President Elon Musk, and for Democrats to try to vilify him, for Democrats, if I were a reporter on the Hill, if I were somebody in the media in front of these guys, I would throw that question to him and say, are you calling the man whose net worth is more than most congressional members combined? Are you calling the man who built an economy within his businesses that is larger than most of the states in the United States, that are larger than most of the nations around this globe? Are you calling that man a dummy when it comes to the economy? Because he's been pretty successful. My 2 cents worth on this whole thing is this. I've seen this movie before. You saw this whole budget thing to the 11th hour, 6 days before Christmas, 48 hours before the money runs out, and the government shuts down. You threaten government shutdown. And then you add all kinds of stupid spending to the budget. You bury things into a document that's hundreds of pages long that threatens leadership to move on it under the cover of darkness. Then, all of a sudden, someone pulls the rug out from under him, throwing a grenade in the room and shutting the door. Democrats love it because they can come out and say that Republicans are dysfunctional. Republicans blame the Democrats for pork barrel spending, and my attitude is both sides are right. We don't have an income problem in this country. We have an expense problem in this country. And I find it interesting that President Trump won this election over kitchen table politics. I find it interesting. What he wants is to increase the national debt. He wants a ceiling raised without a lot of guardrails. And that's what Chip Roy's saying. And I agree with Chip Roy on that. And think about this for a minute. I want you to think about this one thought. Elon Musk, to me, we are very lucky today because Elon Musk is my generation's Einstein. He's brilliant. He's exceptional. He's a generational businessman. He knows what the hell he's done. He's built multiple organizations whose combined value is greater than many nations, greater than most states in this country. His economy, Elon Musk economy, is larger than most economies around this globe. He's a pretty smart dude. I trust his economic knowledge. I trust his economic judgment a whole lot more than I trust legislators. And that's why President Trump has identified Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to be the idea of the Department of Government and Efficiency, DOGE. Now, DOGE has been linked to Trump's campaign promises to cut federal spending and reduce the size of government and the size of federal fiscal deficit. So Trump says he wants the national debt number to increase. He wants to increase the number so we can go more in debt. Yeah, he's got Ramaswamy and Elon Musk heading up Doge looking for government waste to cut the budget and cut the deficit. That's an oxymoron. On one hand, he wants to increase national debt. On the other hand, he's got a new department that he wants two guys to identify wasteful spending to save money. Isn't it the same thing? You're telling me on one hand you want one thing, but you're doing something on the other hand. It doesn't make sense to me. My common sense opinion, that's what I give you. Just common sense. I follow the news and the media. I read all the stories in multiple publications. I watch CNBC. I watch CNN. I watch MSNBC. I watch NBC, ABC, CBS. I watch Fox News Nation. I listen to what everybody's got to say. I listen to the reporting of the news, and I give you an analysis of what I think. And here's what I think. Congress had better get their crap together. Unfortunately, it's designed for conflict. Unfortunately, it's designed so nothing gets done. Unfortunately, the Democrats don't want the Republicans to do something good and win and to be right. And the Republicans don't want the Democrats to win and be right. What I want, I'm a hardworking guy just trying to get by, making a living, do my job, pay my bills, raise a family, be a dad, teach my kids to be adults, have a little fun along the way, and balance my budget. I expect my government to do the same. There's a reason why we don't trust government. There's a reason why we don't trust media, and it's things like this. And as we move into the inauguration of President Trump, we need the Republican Conservative Party to be unified on a mission. They've had 4 years. They've had 4 years to get a plan together on what they're going to do. Not just get elected, but what they're going to do. And Trump won by telling us what he did. It's one of the things I appreciate about Donald Trump. He's the only president in my lifetime. In 2016, he came out and told you what he's going to do, and he did it. I expect the same thing again. Cut the spending. Cut the spending. Balance a budget. I told you a minute ago, I want you to think about last time we had a balanced budget and how often it's happened. I told you I'd tell you in a few minutes. I get a break, and I'll tell you coming out of that break about that budget. And the last time that Congress actually established a budget and set the budget and agreed on it in advance was 1996. And ever since then, they've been doing last minute, house on fire, let's extend stuff from last year, and it's time for a change. Because we're at crisis mode. We need, that will help our economy, and that will help consumer confidence, and it'll help business, and it'll help me and my wallet. And I contend it helps you too. If you got an opinion, I'd like to hear it. 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. You can also hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff. I'm tired of government mishandling my money and your money. And it's time to take it back. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. President-elect Trump has come out and said that he wants to primary challenge to Texas Congressman Chip Roy based off of his vote and his stance on the budget battle that's going on in Washington. So typical Donald, he's bullying people and trying to get them into his corner. You could beat people with a paddle, or you could love them with some honey. He likes beating them with a paddle. Today, the budget bill went down again. There's a potential government shutdown tomorrow night. I don't quite understand the whole thing. It's way above my pay grade. I'm not that smart. All I know is I pay my bills. I got to pay them on time. I got a balanced budget. I expect my government to do the same. And I contend we do not have a income problem. We have an expense problem. That's my opinion. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. You can hit me up across social media on X, in Facebook, or Instagram under Westside Jeff. Or you can just pick up the phone and call me like Gregory from Southlake, because that number, Gregory knows it, 800-288-9227. Gregory, how you doing, man? Thanks for calling. What's your thought?
Hey, Jeff. If we got to shut it down, we got to shut it down. I don't necessarily agree that throwing in the debt ceiling limit, which was only to suspend it for 2 years, was necessarily a hand grenade, but it did seem to rile some of the debt hawks, I guess, on the Republican side. But I guess if they strip that out, they might be able to get that through. I mean, that was a difficult thing. Trump said, hey, let's just get it done now. We won't have to deal with it for 2 years. So, but the bill was just so full of pork and garbage. It was just, what Johnson negotiated was untenable with the incoming administration and untenable with what the American people voted for. So, they got one more shot at it, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see if the Senate screws it up now, But, if we got to shut the government down, we got to shut the government down. That's it. And there's no point in allowing the pork to continue.
Gregory, thank you for your call, and thanks for listening tonight again. I appreciate it very much, and thanks for your opinion. Let's see what Armandina thinks in Arlington. Armandina, you're on Chris Crock Show with Westside Jeff. What's your opinion?
Okay, there's a fourth branch of unelected administration called the deep state. It has just been proven by the press in the past few days that they have been making the decisions for Biden. So this, again, proves what we've been saying for the past 10 years, and that this deep state has been going on for decades. So for anybody, the Democrats or rhinos, to come out and criticize President Trump bringing in Elon Musk and Vivek, you're wrong for that, is what I have to say. Okay, so they are in no position to be criticizing, because we've had an unelected branch of service running narrative and taking control of things. So that's what I have to say. In part, also about shutting down the government. 80-something% already working from home anyways, and they're going to be furloughed anyway. So whatever needs to be done, shut the government down. Yes, I agree. Shut the government down.
All right. Armandina, thank you. Well stated. Thank you for your opinion. 2 callers said shut her down. Here's the challenge with that. When you go back and look at history, when we've had government shutdowns, the next, the party that was in control, the next election, they lost a lot of seats. So there was a payback. And it wasn't like it happened right before an election. So there's a danger there. We've already got coming into the next Congress, we're going to have the advantage of 5 House seats in the United States House of Representatives. So we don't have a big margin. We're going to have 5. And this administration is going to have the House, the Senate, and the President, and they better not screw it up, because they've got 2 years. We'll know, I contend we'll know in 9 months, 8 to 10 months, how they're doing and how the next election will go. Ask me in August or September, and I'll tell you what I think then. It's going to take time, but if they get their crap together, we ought to be in pretty good shape. Coming up, by the way, after the top of the hour, I want to talk about another topic that is close to me that I really like, and that is education. Education is the bedrock of an informed society and the bridge to self-sufficiency. Our education system is under attack. Our education system needs a complete, total, full reboot. It's broken. We'll talk about it after the top of the hour. That's in about 12 minutes. Got news coming up in about 10 minutes, and after that, we'll talk about education. I asked you a moment ago 2 questions. When was the last time Congress went in and completed all the bills on time, a budget bill, in advance that we could live with for a year, as opposed to all the continuing resolutions and continuing they resorted to massive omnibus appropriations bills and continuing resolutions that carry over spending from year to year. When's the last time that didn't happen? The answer to that is 1996. that's the last time. To me, that tells you a large part of the problem. Listen, I have to budget in my business life day to day. I work in an office and do in the business during the day, not on the air, but regular sales and management and so on. I have to do a budget, and I'm accountable for that budget. I expect my government to do the same. I also asked you the question of, when's the last time that we experienced a fiscal year budget surplus? Do you remember when it was? Can you guess how long ago was it that we had a surplus, no deficit? I'm curious what your guess was. The reality is the United States has experienced a fiscal year-end budget surplus 4 times in the last 50 years. Most recently, 2001. So if you're telling me it's been 2001 since we had a surplus, a balanced budget, and you're telling me it was 1996 since we had a budget passed in advance for a year-long budget that the country lived with, that's way too long. Listen, you go into any enterprise, any business, I don't care what industry you're in, you go to any industry, any business that operates that way, and it's headed for doom and gloom. It's time to fix that in the government. It's time to get under control. And most importantly, above and beyond that, I want the Republicans to be unified in what their plan is to fix my life and your life over the next 4 years. And squabbling over these kinds of things and delegitimizing this administration and weakening it over a budget bill is not going to help it. That's my opinion. I feel strong about it. Give me a balanced budget. Do the right thing. It's time to go. That's my attitude. That's what I voted for. That's what I want. I'm a fiscal hawk. I agree with Chip Roy on that. Fiscal hawk, fiscal discipline. We have an expense problem, a spending problem, not an income problem. So we have to budget it accordingly. That's my opinion. My name's Jeff Westside Jeff, in for Chris Kroc. Next, after the top of the hour news, I want to talk about education. Our education system is broken. It's in crisis, K-12 and college. And I'll tell you more about it and what brought me to that conclusion and why it's so important. After the news, give me 8 minutes. I'll explain that. My name's Jeff Westside Jeff, in for Chris Kroc and News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.